Live at 5, this is RT International coming to you from Moscow. Headlines this hour, the first meeting taking place right now, in fact, news alert between Russia's foreign minister and America's new top diplomat at a crucial moment for relations between both countries. We'll take you live there. Plus two. The battle begins. President Trump accuses US intelligence agencies of leaking information out of the press and promises to root out those responsible. That's New Line In today, while it claims sensitive intel is being withheld from Trump over their concerns of potential leaks. More twists and turns. And an anti-migrant party in Denmark comes under scrutiny for distributing fake one-way plane tickets to non-sounding Danish residents. Really, story that's got people up in arms. We'll hear both sides of the argument surrounding that latest stunt to come. Hi, so a busy half hour of news coming up, and thanks for being with us. Top story, America's new Secretary of State, currently, as I speak, meeting Russia's foreign minister for the first time since Donald Trump became US president. The two top diplomats have already shaken hands and they've sat down for talks on a wide range of issues. Let's talk about what they're going to talk about with RT's Peter Oliver. He's in Bonn in Germany. The meeting's taking place. Hi there, Peter. So, where do we start first here? They've got a lot to discuss in just 30 minutes or so. Take us through it.
Yes, that meeting's still underway. The cameras were allowed in for a short period of time at the beginning to see the handshakes, all very warm and amicable, as you expect from these things. But as the media were being filed out, one journalist was able to fire off a quick question to Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. We can hear what he had to say right now.
Mr. Lavrov, are you concerned about the turmoil in the administration back in Washington, both and effect on U.S.-Russia relations?
Thank you.
Well, you should know that we do not interfere in domestic matters of other countries.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, Sergei Lavrov certainly not giving anything away there. His meeting with Rex Tillerson has been highly anticipated, as we're looking to try and glean just how the Trump administration will look to deal with Russia. Rex Tillerson, of course, no stranger when it comes to the highest levels of international discussions and negotiations. He, of course, was the top man at ExxonMobil for a number of years, but he is the new kid on the block when it comes to this level of diplomacy. It's his first meeting, his first outing as US Secretary of State. Now, it's expected that the two, Sergei Lavrov and Rex Tillerson, will be discussing the situation in Ukraine, also Syria, expected to be on the agenda there as well. But when we look to just how Russia and the United States will go forward, we are seeing something of a conflicting message coming out of the Washington side. We've heard President Trump say that he wants closer ties with Russia. We've then also, though, heard some members from within his own cabinet say the time might not be right to change tack away from how the Obama administration handled Moscow.
Russia today poses a danger, but it is not unpredictable in advancing its own interest. Where cooperation with Russia based on common interest is possible, such as reducing the global threat of terrorism, we ought to explore these options.
We do want to better our relations with Russia. However, the dire situation in eastern Ukraine is one that demands clear and strong condemnation of Russian actions.
The president has been incredibly tough on Russia. At the same time, he fully expects to and wants to be able to get along with Russia.
Maybe we'll have a good relationship. Maybe we'll have a horrible relationship. Maybe we'll have a relationship right in the middle.
Well, to be a fly on the wall in that meeting that's ongoing right now between the US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson and the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. As soon as they're finished, we're trying to find out exactly what they were talking about, and we could get something of an insight into just how Moscow and Washington will go forward together in this new presidential administration.
Big day to try and work out where it's going to go forward, isn't it? OK, Peter Oliver in Bonn. We'll let you get your ear back to the wall, maybe. See you later. Well, talking about the President of the United States, he's engaged in another battle with his own intelligence agencies. The story goes on and on. On Wednesday, he accused them of illegal classified links, and today he's taken to social media to vow those responsible will be caught. This amid accusations and allegations that American spy officials have been deliberately keeping sensitive information from President Trump because they fear it could be leaked or compromised. Let's get up to speed on this. More twists and turns every day. Nikki Aaron's been across the latest. So what's going on as we know at the moment?
Well, tensions between the intelligence community and the president are boiling over, and it's war.
Spies keep intelligence from President Trump because they're concerned it could be leaked or compromised because they don't trust that it's a safe thing to communicate to him.
From intelligence, papers are being leaked, things are being leaked. It's criminal action, criminal act, and it's been going on for a long time before me, but now it's really going on.
And it seems the ultimate weapon at hand for the intelligence community is the media. Hence headlines like these, all backing the notion that Trump's administration is as dysfunctional and chaotic as the critics like to believe. And it's on its way out. According to The Independent, White House staff are in survival mode, while the New York Times tells its readers his administration is in unbelievable turmoil.
So why are they doing this? What's driving it?
Well, as the old saying goes, all's fair in love and war. So for those who want nothing more than to see Trump's ship sink, little things like evidence or credible sources become not so important.
So it sounds like you think the issue is the leaking, not the constant contact, as it was described by CNN and the New York Times, with Russian operatives.
Well, I think that if this is constant contact, I'd like to see some evidence.
And with the first smell of blood, the predator knows it's time to go in for the kill. So at this point, adding that extra pressure might be all that's needed to take Trump down.
There is significant dysfunction in the national security apparatus of the Trump administration. The whole environment is one of dysfunction.
Now's time for Congress to up its game. If there's contacts between the Trump campaign and Russian intelligence officials outside the norm, that's not only big league bad, that's a game changer.
So how big could this get? I mean, where could it go?
Well, according to some of the mainstream media, it's just a matter of time before Donald Trump is impeached, and even some people are already preparing for it. On Twitter, there's a hashtag trending Trump impeachment party. But the battle is not yet over. Trump is never one to shy away from scandal or confrontation, and he's making it clear he wants an investigation into the intelligence community leaks. And leaking such information is something that whistleblowers like Chelsea Manning was branded a traitor to her country for and put behind bars. So now all eyes will be on the president to see what his next move will be.
Yeah, all right, Nikki. Well, we spoke to former intelligence officials about this, get their thoughts. They believe the US agencies simply wield too much power these days. Let's listen.
Well, I hope what happens is that the president starts to clean up the intelligence community for being, you know, so corrupt and politicized, basically. You need to have a professional, disciplined intelligence process that will produce intelligence for the decision makers to make decisions. You can't have them do things for political reasons.
What's going on is there are still high-level individuals at the NSA and at CIA in particular that have access to intelligence information that are more sympathetic to the presidency of Barack Obama and opposed to the presidency of Donald Trump. So they're really working from an inside perspective against Trump. That said, it's now incumbent upon Trump's people to try to get control of these organizations. It's not just the leaks of the information, the whole story, I guess the false storyline that's being presented, which is that, you know, Russia is embarked upon this great aggressive campaign, ultimately trying to culminate perhaps in an attack on the United States. I mean, it's sheer madness.
As Emily Sue reports next, evidence seems to be the last thing these days on the media's radar, especially when it comes to a new Trump scandal, maybe.
Russia, Russia, Russia. No matter how vague, no matter how empty, as long as you put this magic word next to Trump, it's gold, at least for some U.S. mainstream media. This sensational headline was published by the New York Times on Wednesday. Citing unnamed officials, the authors admit they have no idea what was actually said in these supposed phone calls between Trump aides and Russian intelligence officials. They also got no evidence to prove any colluding between Trump and Russia. But hey, don't know, don't care. Trump's there, Russia's there, boom, damage done. Within an hour, CNN cited their own anonymous sources claiming the same thing.
High-level advisors close to then presidential nominee Donald Trump were in constant communication during the campaign with Russians known to U.S. intelligence. This is according to multiple current and former intelligence, law enforcement, and administration officials.
If you're not sure, that's fine, as long as you throw in the words allegedly or reportedly. It's all good. But it wasn't these Trump campaign aides that took the biggest hit. National Security Advisor Michael Flynn gave up his job because of his ties with Russia.
This isn't just sort of a casual violation of the Logan Act. This is sort of a direct and, you know, maybe even treasonous activity.
He just decided to call the Russians up one day and say, you know, we're going to have a different view on sanctions. Don't worry about it.
Whoa, criminal phone call with Russians. Wait a minute. Was that the reason he quit?
Whether or not he actually misled the vice president was the issue. And that was ultimately what led to the president asking for and accepting the resignation of General Flynn. That's it, pure and simple.
If you think their clarification is enough to stop mainstream media from spinning the Russia mill, think again.
People are just repeating this, and they don't know why. They say, Russia, Russia's at it, Russia, you know, Flynn was talking to the Russian ambassador. And without thinking, more people than you can imagine are repeating this sense of sabotage. Russians lurking about. You could say the Russians, you could have said the Italians or the Vatican. It could have been anything else, because there is such a frothing hatred for everything that is Trump. The mainstream media hate him because he is shaking up the status quo. He wants to change everything. Do you know what happens if all of a sudden somebody were to remove Russophobia? What this does to the defense industry? If you remove a potential boogeyman, if you were to change the climate of fear, what this means?
Lionel there. Coming up, the nationalist Danish party responsible for anti-migrant Spain. Remember those headlines? Well, it's caught the headlines again, though, this latest stunt in Denmark. It's got a lot of people angry, too. We'll tell you all about it and listen to both sides after 90 seconds.
What politicians do is something we don't do. They put themselves on the line, and they get accepted or rejected. So when you want to be president, why would you want to be? Why would someone want to be president? What's it like to be president? What's it like when the phone rings at 3 in the morning? Can't be a good call. I'm interested always in the whys and the hows.
And Q Larry.
Question more.
Even if we cannot agree on Ukraine, even if we cannot agree on Syria, we ought to be able to agree on nuclear dangers to both of us, to both of our countries. We ought to be able to agree on taking actions and steps that lower those dangers. Those are in the interest of both countries. There's not a conflict there.
Hi again, thanks for being with us. So, a nationalist Danish party has once again put itself in the spotlight following an anti-migrant stunt in a suburb of Copenhagen. Let me tell you about it. The far-right Danes party apparently distributed flyers that looked like one-way airline tickets, and they were put in postboxes of residents with non-Danish sounding names. What do you think about that? Apparently, those with traditional last names that sounded Danish received a false cheque for the equivalent of €2 billion. The party claims that's the amount of money Denmark could be saving by expelling all non-Western residents. Copenhagen police have said they're worried about it, and it's a controversial move.
Now we will determine whether this is punishable by law, and that is something we will do just as soon as we have the necessary legal assistance here.
Bit more about this suburb. It's in the west of the Danish capital. It's frequently being targeted by nationalists because of the minorities that live there. And Denmark's parliament also says it's concerned that Danes are becoming minorities themselves in some areas. It's a big bone of contention. Earlier, I talked to political commentator Mo Ansar and Danish journalist Iben Thranholm. Here they are.
Denmark's seen an increasing number of hard right, even further right than the Danish People's Party, appearing on the scene and are continuing to agitate, to frighten and to stir up hatred in communities. And they're trying to create a popular movement, effectively leading to a purge of Muslims and refugees and immigrants in this part of Europe.
I think it's very repulsive, and I find it terrible, and I condemn it. But having said that, I think that there are concerns here about migrants. Danish people feel threatened, culturally threatened, because in those areas more than 50% are non-Western citizens. So it is a problem, and we need to address it, because if we are not, able to tell the truth, then we are going to face more things like this. So we have to be honest and have a transparent debate.
Let's be honest, we're talking about refugees who are coming from Syria and escaping war and persecution and terror and death. We're talking about Muslim school kids who are wanting to wear the headscarf or wanting to pray. We're talking about civil liberties and freedoms. I find it very, very difficult when someone like Iben, who is a respected voice, who is a quite moderate person, to say it's terrible, but. There's no but in this situation here, okay? This is the rise of hatred, this is the rise of the far right.
I have some numbers here. I mean, 4 in 10 British Muslims want some aspect of Sharia law enforced in the UK. The same
that is
applies
a nonsense.
to them.
that has been totally debunked. Ibn, that has been totally debunked.
It means
you can't talk about that. That has been totally debunked.
No. Yeah, I mean, let me
That's
speak.
been totally debunked in the UK. These are alternative facts, Ibn. These are alternative facts.
Well, no, I'm not so sure about that, because these are surveys. 52% of all British Muslims think that homosexuality should be illegal.
These are alternative facts.
I mean, no, I don't think so. And at least you have to face the fact that a lot of people feel culturally threatened. A lot of people feel culturally threatened. This is a fact, and we need to address that. Otherwise, you are creating hatred. I mean, then you are discriminating against the host population if you don't want to accept these facts.
We are a plurality of people. If we want to say that Europe somehow has to remain white, has to remain non-Muslim, has to remain Christian, when the world is changing and we're mixing and there are population flows all around. Professor Hans Rosling says that by 2100 the population of Europe will stagnate, whereas the populations of the Middle East, Africa, China, these places are going to double. What are we going to do? Say we build higher walls? We're not going to live in a plural, multicultural society? Are we going to make it like the Hunger Games?
Danish people are not afraid of foreigners. But if this multicultural project has to succeed, we have to share the same values. And obviously we are not. I mean, right now we have a case with Muslims who do not want to take swimming lessons unless there is gender separations. It means that Danish people have to bend to Islamic laws.
While on the subject of this kind of thing, meantime, over in France, French authorities have placed huge boulders now in a makeshift migrant camp in Paris to try to stop the refugees settling there. This is according to activists speaking to us. The camp is near an official refugee centre, which is struggling right now to cope with the number of newcomers there in Paris. Of course, the capital there has seen an influx of migrants ever since that infamous Calais jungle camp was taken down and bulldozed last October. In fact, Harry Fear witnessed the eviction in that port last year.
Take a look around. It looks like a bomb has hit this part of the Calais camp. It was just weeks ago that there were shops here, and just days ago that they were flogging what was left of their stock at bargain prices.
But now it seems the migrants have started to return to Calais again, just months after Europe's largest makeshift camp was torn apart by the French government. More than 400 refugees have reportedly made their way there now. Harry Fear again picks up the story now.
Just 4 months after the historic clearance operation, and as was always expected, a small number have returned to the Calais region, still with their sights on entering the UK, perhaps even continuing their operations to get on board those lorries and smuggle themselves into the UK. What was always less likely, though, was that they would be returning here so soon, in such fast-growing numbers, and just a couple of minutes down the road from the old camp.
We hadn't guessed an easy search
would be all it would take to find members of Calais's new migrant population.
Kitted with sleeping bags and water, around 40 people spent a bitingly cold night here beside an industrial estate. The police kept a watchful eye from a distance. By day, it's a mission to find any migrants to speak to, but out in the wilderness, you can spot some unusual campers.
These 7 are from Eritrea.
So you've been here for 1 month?
No, I stay 3 months.
3 months?
It's different.
Different?
We come different way, in different times.
How old are you guys?
I am 70.
You were 17?
70. Well, 6.
60?
17.
It's thought most of today's Calais migrants are minors. Many are sleeping rough beside highways. The official police policy is that there are no squats or camps to be allowed in Calais. But in recent years, the migrant flow to Calais has never really stopped. And now some charities estimate there are as many as 400 to 500 here again, scattered across the region, which is a concern for some of Calais' residents.
We knew very well that they would come back. Many people said that they had left for winter to find something else, but we all knew that they would eventually come back. We're not surprised at all. There is no solution coming from the state.
We do not want them to stay in Calais. Calais has suffered a lot. Our small business suffered a lot.
They don't bother me personally. I don't see a lot of migrants. It is true that we should help them, but I don't think we have all the necessary facilities.
I'm not surprised that they came back. It is a transfer point to enter the UK, but it's creating problems in Calais.
Calais' migrant problem isn't going away, even with the jungle now dismantled, and many will want to see the authorities take steps to effectively address the problem. Reporting for RT, I'm Harry Fear.
So what are some of the people they're saying about it? We spoke to the Deputy Mayor of Calais.
The police is arresting them when, of course, they are caught. Some of them have got refugees document, but they still want to go to England. If they are arrested, for the ones having no paperwork, they are sent to either specialized centers like the other ones in October, and the other ones have to remain free because they've got documents. They are on the street, and they try during another night to go in a truck again to get to England. The English government is doing more to put fences and walls in the Calais area. Is that enough? It's not. Those people coming from anywhere have gone through a lot of borders, a lot of walls. They've gone through the Mediterranean Sea. Do you think only wall and fences 30 kilometers away from the target will be enough? We concentrate in Calais and in the Calais area the European crisis of immigration. We've never seen anybody from Europe. The European Commissioner came because Theresa May was coming, because the French, Mr. Valls on that time, the French Prime Minister was coming, and because the Home Affairs Minister was coming. He came there. 1 hour. And he's gone. What does he know about the situation?
Let's take a focus on Yemen now. Latest developments there. Bad news. An airstrike by the Saudi-led coalitions hit a house where mourners were gathered. Seems 9 people and a child reportedly killed there in that strike near the capital, Sana'a. Dozens more were injured. Local medics saying that. Laura Smith's got more details from London.
As always in these situations, we're having conflicting reports out of Sana'a. Some eyewitnesses are saying that there were actually 2 airstrikes, the initial one and then a second one that targeted emergency responders. Of course, we saw a similar incident in Yemen last October, also a Saudi airstrike, also on a funeral procession, and that killed 140 people, you may remember. A bit of background for you. The Saudis intervened in Yemen in 2015 to fight Houthi Houthi rebels. And since then, 10,000 people, according to estimates, have been killed. Both sides have been severely criticised by human rights organisations, and the Saudis are accused of deliberately targeting civilians. What's this all got to do with the UK, you might be asking? Well, despite all that evidence, London continues to sell arms to Saudi Arabia. In fact, since the conflict started in March 2015, the UK has licensed £3.3 billion worth of arms sales to the Saudis. 2.2 billion of that was warplanes, helicopters and drones, so that now, in fact, Saudi Arabia owns twice as many UK-made warplanes as the Royal Air Force here in this country does. And that all, of course, has caused heated debate in Parliament.
We have to put political pressure on the Saudis to come to the negotiating table, to reduce the scale of the bombing, to move towards some kind of ceasefire, and to do it properly.
So let's just talk about the conflict. This has been presented against Saudi Arabia, against the people of Yemen. Yep. What an absolute load of garbage. No wonder the country's in poverty. And we're allowing these people to get away with it.
Once the British government, that's the simplest thing. You know, that's even more modest a request of HM government than suspending arms sales temporarily, and you won't even do that.
The result of the conflict in Yemen and the Saudi blockade has been, according to the UN, a humanitarian catastrophe. There are some 18 million people there now in need of some kind of humanitarian aid. Here's a snapshot of the situation on the ground there.
أنا حاله لم أنا فلوس ولا أنا أي بيوت ولا مؤدبين حالت أنا حاله ولا أنا أي مستشفيات لا طب ولا طحنا فلوس أقمن نتعالج ولا عندنا حاجة
Let me take you back to our top story development for you. The first meeting between America and Russia's top diplomats in the Trump era has just concluded. There in Bonn. US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson gave this statement to the waiting media.
Foreign Minister Lavrov and I had a productive meeting. We discussed a range of issues of mutual concern. As I made clear at my Senate confirmation hearing, the United States will consider working with Russia when we can find areas of practical cooperation that will benefit the American people. Where we do not see eye to eye, the United States will stand up for the interests and values of America and her allies. As we search for new common ground, we expect Russia to honor its commitment to the Minsk agreements and work to de-escalate the violence in the Ukraine. Thank you very much.
A short statement over the coming hours. We'll put more meat on the bones of that and analyse it a bit more. But for now, that's it from me. Maybe see you again in half an hour's time.